The early morning sun cast golden rays over the quiet monastery, its silence broken only by chirping birds. The Buddha, seated beneath a Bodhi tree, radiated serenity as his disciples gathered, their robes rustling softly. "Ananda," the Buddha called gently, his voice like a calm river. Ananda stepped forward, bowing respectfully before his teacher. "Yes, Lord," he replied with reverence. Buddha gestured toward a meandering stream nearby, its waters glistening under sunlight. "Do you see how the water flows? Never still, yet always in harmony with its path?" Buddha asked. "I see it, Lord," Ananda replied, his curiosity piqued. The Buddha continued, "The water does not resist the stones in its way, nor fear bends along its course." Subhuti, another disciple, interjected hesitantly, "But Lord, unlike the river, we cannot ignore what lies ahead. The unknown future burdens our hearts." The Buddha turned his gaze toward Subhuti, his eyes deep with compassion. "Subhuti, do you control the winds?" he asked. Subhuti shook his head and answered, "No, Lord. The winds move as they will, beyond my grasp." Buddha nodded and said, "Then why do you cling to control over the future, which unfolds beyond your sight?" The disciples looked at one another, their brows furrowed, pondering the weight of his words. Buddha pointed to a tree swaying gently in the breeze. "That tree bends gracefully with the wind. It does not resist," he said. "Resisting what is unknown is like trying to grasp the wind. It eludes and tires the grasp." One of the younger disciples, eager but anxious, spoke up, "Lord, if we do not plan for the future, how can we prepare for what may come?" The Buddha smiled, his expression serene and understanding. "Tell me, young one, can a farmer harvest crops without first sowing seeds in the present?" he asked. "No, Lord," the young disciple replied, bowing his head in thought. "The present holds the seeds of the future, yet it is often overlooked," Buddha said. He picked up a handful of soil, letting it fall gently back to earth. "This soil nourishes the tree today. The tree's fruit is tomorrow's gift." But the focus remains on the soil. Buddha gazed at the rippling stream once more. Worrying about the future distracts from the present. The only moment where true action can occur, he said. Ananda stepped closer and asked, "Lord, how do we stop the mind from wandering to what lies ahead?" The Buddha raised his hand, gesturing for silence, and the disciples leaned in attentively. "Ananda, take a single deep breath and focus on its rise and fall," Buddha instructed. Ananda complied, his breathing deliberate and steady. "Now tell me, Ananda, while you focused on your breath, did thoughts of the future arise?" Buddha asked. Ananda opened his eyes and shook his head slowly. "No, Lord, the breath anchored my mind." Buddha smiled and said, "The breath is like a tether, binding the wandering mind to the reality of now. Practice it often." Subhuti spoke again, his tone more reflective than before. "Lord, does this mean we should abandon all thoughts of tomorrow?" The Buddha replied, "Not abandon, Subhuti, but not cling. Let tomorrow unfold as it may, unbound by today's fears." A gentle breeze rustled the leaves above, their whispers harmonizing with the Buddha's voice. The disciples listened, their hearts lighter with every word. Another disciple, Mahakasyapa, sat with a thoughtful expression. "Lord, if we let go of our attachments to the future, will we find freedom from suffering?" he asked. The Buddha turned to him and said, "Freedom arises not from avoidance, but from acceptance and presence. Consider the sun," Buddha continued, gesturing to the brilliant orb in the sky. "It neither rushes nor halts, yet it illuminates each day without fail." The disciples nodded, the metaphor resonating with the rhythm of their own lives. "Lord," a disciple named Upali began, "how do we embrace the present when fear clouds our minds?" The Buddha, His eyes filled with compassion. Spoke gently, Upali, fear is a shadow cast by the mind, not by reality itself. He picked up a stick and drew a line in the dirt. This line represents your fear, he said. Now watch closely. With a single stroke, the Buddha erased the line. Fear is impermanent, vanishing when confronted with understanding, he explained. The disciples marveled at the simplicity and profundity of his teaching. Upali bowed his head, his doubts easing. The Buddha gestured toward a bird alighting on a branch. The bird does not hoard its songs for tomorrow. It sings for the moment, he said. Life is fleeting, like the bird's melody, beautiful and transient. Do not let worry mute its song. The Buddha's words sank deep into the hearts of his disciples. Each one sat quietly, reflecting on the teachings they had received. As the sun climbed higher, its warmth seemed to echo the lightness they now felt within. The Buddha spoke once more, his voice calm yet commanding. Remember, the future is not an enemy to conquer, but a mystery to embrace. His disciples nodded, their worries dissolving like morning mist under the sun's steady gaze. Time seemed to pause as the Buddha concluded. Walk your path with presence, not preoccupation. The journey itself is the destination. Another day. The sun rose gently, its light casting soft hues across the monastery grounds. The Buddha sat beneath a sheltering tree, his robes flowing like water. As the disciples gathered, a merchant appeared, his face heavy with lines of worry. He carried a satchel, clinging to it as if it held his soul. Lord Buddha, the merchant began, bowing deeply, I am consumed by fears of losing all that I hold dear. The Buddha gestured for the merchant to sit, his movements calm and deliberate. My friend, what is it you carry so tightly? Buddha asked. The merchant opened his satchel, revealing gold coins, jewels, and finely crafted trinkets. These are my treasures. Lord, the merchant replied. Their loss would be unbearable, yet I am unable to find peace with them in my possession. Buddha picked up a small pebble from the ground and held it before his disciples. This pebble is light and insignificant, Buddha said. Yet, if held too tightly, it becomes a burden to the hand. A disciple named Rahula spoke, his voice thoughtful. Lord, why do we hold on to burdens that weigh us down? Buddha turned to Rahula, his gaze kind and steady. Attachment to possessions or outcomes arises from fear, which clouds the mind, he explained. Tell me, merchant, does clutching your treasures ensure their safety? The merchant looked at the Buddha, his expression troubled. No, Lord, he admitted, but letting go feels like losing control of everything I value. Buddha held the pebble aloft again, then cast it gently into the stream. Look closely, my friend, Buddha said, gesturing toward the flowing water. The pebble is carried onward, undisturbed, without resistance or burden. The merchant watched the stream, its surface glittering like the treasures in his satchel. Clinging tightly to your treasures invites suffering, Buddha continued, releasing them, as the stream carries the pebble, brings freedom. The disciples observed silently, their minds engaged in the unfolding lesson. Subhuti, sitting nearby, spoke hesitantly, Lord, is freedom found in abandoning all attachments, even those born of love and responsibility? Buddha smiled gently, his voice steady and warm. Subhuti, attachment differs from genuine care and compassion. Buddha gestured toward the towering tree above. This tree stands firm, offering shade, yet does not cling to its leaves when they fall, he said. True care arises from understanding, not possessiveness. Compassion is rooted in freedom, not fear. The merchant, still staring at the stream, asked, Lord Buddha, how do I let go of the fear that consumes my thoughts? Buddha took a deep breath, his presence radiating calmness. Fear thrives on illusion, my friend, he said. Confront the illusion with clarity, and fear dissipates. Buddha placed his hand on the merchant's shoulder. Imagine holding your treasures as the stream holds the pebble. Without clinging or resistance, he said. In flowing freely, life nourishes all and seeks harmony, not control. The disciples murmured among themselves, absorbing the wisdom of the Buddha's words. The merchant bowed deeply, his heart lighter than when he had arrived. A disciple named Upali spoke, his voice soft but sure. Lord, how do we balance letting go with fulfilling duties to others? Buddha's eyes softened, reflecting the compassion in his heart. Upali, duty and care do not require attachment, he said. They flourish in mindful presence and understanding. He gestured to the bird singing above. The bird does not hoard its songs. It sings freely, sharing its beauty without fear. The disciples nodded, their thoughts gaining clarity from the simplicity of the bird's actions. Buddha turned his gaze back to the merchant. Let your actions flow as freely as this stream, he said. Do not let fear impede their course. The merchant, moved by the Buddha's wisdom, left the monastery carrying not only his satchel but also a renewed sense of purpose. His burden felt lighter, no longer defined by worry. Rahula, watching the merchant depart, asked, Lord, can one truly find peace amidst life's trials and uncertainties? Buddha's voice was firm but gentle. Rahula, peace is not the absence of trials, but the understanding that trials, like the stream, are impermanent. He gestured toward the sky, its vastness unmarred by fleeting clouds. Do you see how the clouds pass, never settling forever? So too, do trials fade. The disciples sat in silence, their hearts touched by the profound wisdom the Buddha offered. The gentle rustling of leaves seemed to echo the lightness they now felt within. Buddha's voice carried onward, weaving clarity into the fabric of their lives. Worry is the shadow cast by fear and illusion. Buddha said, understand the shadow, and it ceases to obscure your vision. Subhuti bowed deeply, expressing gratitude for the Buddha's teachings. Thank you, Lord, your wisdom shines like the sun breaking through the clouds. Buddha placed his hands together, a gesture of unity and compassion. Remember, freedom lies not in possession, but in understanding. Let your heart flow like the stream. Time seemed to pause as the disciples reflected on the lessons they had received. The afternoon light bathed the monastery in golden hues. As the Buddha rested under the sheltering tree, his presence, like the stream, continued to nourish all who sought its clarity and harmony. Another day, the disciples and the Buddha reached a small village where famine had left its mark on every face. The once vibrant fields were now barren, their soil cracked under an unforgiving sun. Villagers gathered around the Buddha, their hope worn thin but not extinguished. A farmer approached, holding a wilted lotus in trembling hands. Lord Buddha, he began, his voice heavy with despair. How can we find hope in such cruel circumstances? The Buddha gestured for the farmer to sit, his calm presence like a cool breeze in the oppressive heat. The Buddha picked up a dried leaf from the ground, turning it in his hand thoughtfully. Look at this leaf, he said. Once it was green and alive, now it returns to the earth. The farmer nodded, his eyes reflecting the weight of suffering etched into his soul. The Buddha continued, just as the leaf transforms, so too does suffering rise and fall. Nothing is permanent, not even pain. A disciple named Ananda spoke, his voice tinged with concern. Lord, how do we find strength to endure when suffering feels endless and insurmountable? Buddha's gaze softened as he replied, Ananda, suffering ceases to overpower when we stop resisting its presence and begin accepting its nature. He gestured toward the distant mountains, their peaks shrouded in mist. Do the mountains resist the wind, or do they stand firm, letting it pass through and beyond? The farmer, still clutching the wilted lotus, asked, Lord Buddha, does acceptance not mean giving up on seeking a better tomorrow? Buddha smiled, his expression serene but resolute. Acceptance does not mean inaction. It means seeing reality clearly without rejection or clinging, he explained. The Buddha then pointed to the lotus. Even in its decay, this flower holds traces of its former beauty and life, he said. Life is both fragile and profound, like the lotus, and understanding this duality leads to wisdom. A young woman in the crowd, her face weary but her spirit unbroken, spoke up, Lord, if life is impermanent, how do we find purpose amidst its fleeting nature? The Buddha's eyes shone with compassion as he replied, purpose arises not from permanence, but from the love and care we bring to each moment. He gestured toward a small child in the crowd. Laughing despite the famine's grip, the child does not seek permanence in play. Yet their joy brings light to all who witness it, Buddha said. The villagers, weary but attentive, felt the heaviness in their hearts begin to ease. Another disciple, Subhuti, asked thoughtfully, Lord, how do we cultivate compassion when our own suffering feels so overwhelming? Buddha's voice was steady as he replied, compassion grows from understanding that all beings share the experience of suffering and impermanence. The Buddha picked up a handful of soil, letting it fall between his fingers. Each grain is separate, yet together they form the earth that nourishes life, he said. In recognizing our shared struggles, we find the strength to lift each other. The farmer, now gazing at the sky, said, Lord Buddha, the sky feels endless, yet it too must hold storms and darkness. How does it endure? Buddha looked upward, the vast expanse mirroring his boundless wisdom. The sky holds all without attachment. Knowing that clouds pass and storms subside, the Buddha turned back to the villagers, his presence a beacon of calm amidst their struggles. Life's trials are not meant to defeat us but to teach us the nature of existence, he said. By embracing impermanence, we discover resilience within ourselves. The young woman who had spoken earlier stepped forward, her voice steady despite her hardships. Lord, can acceptance truly heal the wounds left by suffering? Buddha's gaze was kind yet firm as he replied, healing begins when we stop resisting and start embracing the truth of what is. He pointed to the barren fields, their emptiness echoing the villagers' plight. Even this land, though barren now, holds the potential for renewal when nurtured with care and patience, he said. The villagers, inspired by his words, exchanged glances filled with newfound determination. Buddha's voice carried the weight of timeless wisdom as he continued, remember, impermanence is not an enemy to be feared but a teacher to be embraced. He gestured toward the mountains again, their silent strength a reflection of his teachings. Stand firm like the mountains. Let the winds of change pass without resistance. Ananda, deeply moved by the day's lessons, asked, Lord, what legacy do we leave behind in a world shaped by impermanence? Buddha's smile was serene as he replied, the legacy of our actions, rooted in love and compassion, transcends the transient nature of existence. The sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and gold. As the villagers bowed deeply to the Buddha, they returned to their homes, their hearts lighter and their resolve strengthened. The disciples, too, sat in silence, absorbing the wisdom shared that day. The Buddha rested beneath a tree, his presence a source of solace and guidance for all who sought his teachings. The evening air was filled with a quiet stillness, as if the world itself honored the wisdom imparted. The lessons of impermanence, compassion, and acceptance lingered, resonating in the hearts of all who had listened. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.